ನಂಬಿದ ಕಂದರಮ್ಮ, ನಿನ್ನ ಮಡಿಲಿನ ಮಕ್ಕಳಮ್ಮ, ನಿನ್ನ ನಂಬಿದ ಕಂದರಮ್ಮ, ನಿನ್ನ ಕರುಣೆಯ ಬೆಳಕಲಮ್ಮ, ಬಾಳನು ಬೆಳಕಮ್ಮ, ನಮ್ಮ ಕೋರಿಕೆ ಆಲಿಸಮ್ಮ. ತಾಯಿ ಶಾರದೆ ಲೋಕ ಪೂಜಿತೆ, ಜ್ಞಾನದಾತೆ ನಮೋಸ್ತುತೆ, ಪ್ರೇಮದಿಂದಲೇ ಸಲಹು ಮಾತೆ, ನೀನು ಸನ್ಮತಿ ಸೌಖ್ಯದಾತೆ. ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಮಾತುಗಳಾಡಿಸು, ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಕೆಲಸವ ಮಾಡಿಸು, ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಮಾತುಗಳಾಡಿಸು, ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಕೆಲಸವ ಮಾಡಿಸು, ಒಳ್ಳೆ ದಾರಿಯಲೆಮ್ಮ ನಡೆಸು, ವಿದ್ಯೆಯ ಕಲಿಸು, ಆಸೆ ಪೂರೈಸು. ತಾಯಿ ಶಾರದೆ ಲೋಕ ಪೂಜಿತೆ, ಜ್ಞಾನದಾತೆ ನಮೋಸ್ತುತೆ, ಪ್ರೇಮದಿಂದಲೇ ಸಲಹು ಮಾತೆ, ನೀನು ಸನ್ಮತಿ ಸೌಖ್ಯದಾತೆ. ಪ್ರೇಮದಿಂದಲೇ ಸಲಹು ಮಾತೆ, ನೀನು ಸನ್ಮತಿ ಸೌಖ್ಯದಾತೆ.
Thank you for the prayer song. And now, to warm our hearts with the hopeful words of inspiration and knowledge, I request our esteemed principal, Dr. Nagesh HR sir, to say a few words.
Good afternoon, everybody. Respected Vice Principal of this institute and HOD of CST department, faculty members, and my dear student friends of this very young department, young and enthusiastic. Correct? You agree with me?
Yes.
Yes. So you are the source of inspiration for the department. You have to set targets to your department. Say, whatever the topic of the day, because when you are all students at a professional college, being the students of professional college, you have to innovate. Why innovation is needed? If you do not innovate, there will not be a progress. Correct? So you have to, each and everything you are going to do, because you have to think professionally. You have to think out of the box. You should not agree with plan A. You should come up with plan B. I'm 110% sure that the CST department is going to conduct a lot of activities, and it is going to be one of the best department in our institute, because it is the youngest and the new department in the entire university. Correct? This is a new department. I think our vice principal had made a lot of contributions as far as designing the curriculum at the university level is concerned. I thank him on this occasion, because this is a new department and it has got a lot of scope. Okay, so it's in your hand how you are going to develop your department, and you are going to initiate a lot of activities. Okay, I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful thoughts. I would like to call Ms. Kushi, third sem CSD, to introduce our guest speaker for this talk, Dr. Prahas Amensu. Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Prahas Amensu, a multifaceted individual who wears many hats with commendable expertise. As founder and managing director of Blackbird Technologies OPC Private Limited, he spearheads initiatives to upskill students in coding, AI applications, and various web technologies. Concurrently, Dr. Amin serves as an associate professor and head of the Department of Computer Science and Design at Kendra Engineering College. With a diverse educational background, including a PhD in electronics from Mango University, Mr. Amin's research prowess lies in the realm of AI for signal processing, specifically focused on myoelectric signals. His journey began with a BE in Electronics and Communication from Nitha University, and he further honed his skills with an MS in Embedded Systems from Manipal University. Dr. Amin's professional journey has been equally compelling, from contributing as a native Android developer at Circle Global Services Mumbai to serving as a research fellow at NITK Center for System Design. His experience spans across Android development, academia, and research. Platform Technologies, under his leadership, engaged in diverse activities from facilitating student internships to organizing astronomy outreach events, including astrophotography and skywatching workshops. Beyond the professional sphere, Dr. Amin is an avid amateur astronomer contributing to both research and public engagement in astronomy. His interests extend to playing guitar, gaming, showcasing a well-rounded personality. In conclusion, Dr. Prahas Amin embodies a rare combination of a dedicated educator, astute researcher, and versatile professional. His commitment to advancing technology, coupled with a passion for astronomy and education, makes him a truly inspiring figure in today's dynamic landscape. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Prahas Amin.
Thank you, Kushi. In today's rapidly evolving world, the essence of problem solving and ideation is pivotal. We are gathered here not just to discuss technicalities, but to celebrate the brilliance and innovation that comes from the tackling challenges and head on. So let's embrace this opportunity to observe, engage, and connect. May today's discussion and interaction serve as a catalyst for innovative problem solving and paving the way for the future where the challenges become opportunities and where solutions lead to the meaningful progress. Once again, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to everyone present here and wish for the enlightenment and productive gathering. Here's to the problem solving, ideation, and pursuit of excellences. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, my request is those who are sitting on the last, you have to occupy this seat. Madam is sitting just to monitor you. We don't want the faculty himself. So your behavior, everything actually should be a model for us. So my request, all those who are sitting in the last row, see there are 3 vacancies here also, here also, there also. Come forward now. This is not a theater. One should not. It's not a theater where you sit in the last row where you enjoy because it's a more of learning. Come, Swapna. Come. Without learning, you can interact very closely with.
If you are close to the speaker, you will learn more. Because you get a reach line connected with the speaker. Otherwise, it will be dialogue line. No, it's bandwidth will be less. Come friend.
You are interested, no? If you are interested, you come up. You have to come and occupy. That's what it shows interest. Hope you are interested. Your own HOD is delivering the session.
Yeah, it is a good opportunity for you.
Good.
Thank you. All the best.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, so let's begin the session. So it's not going to be a very technical session as such, but we are going to deal mainly with how exactly we are going to different ways of coming up with ideas. Okay, so it may not be the only way; there may be other ways as well. So here I'm going to talk about some of the ways that helps us in coming out with new ideas. So you have a lot of events coming up even in the college where you're having hackathons, you're having ideathons. So for all these, you get an idea how exactly you can ideate. So let's begin. So as I've already been introduced, so I think most of you are familiar with me. So I'm Dr. Prahas Amit, and I am the managing director of Flashflow Technologies, and which is a small company, a small firm which is started by me, and we do different kind of R&D work, and we have done the software development as well. But in addition to that, I think you're more familiar with me as the HOD of Computer Science and Design Department. So let's begin. So briefly, first I'm going to tell you a little bit about the company that I started, because you will get an idea as we progress what was my mindset when I started with this. So mainly, the company was incorporated on August 7th, the year 2018, and we are involved in upskilling and software development, consulting, and also we do a little bit of research and development. And also do some astronomy outreach events. We are planning to have some here as well, as soon as the clouds clear up. And some of the things what we work on, as we work on machine learning projects, we work on some deep learning projects, computer vision, we work on some human-machine interfaces for prosthetic limbs. Along with that, we are doing some work on astronomy and web app development, and also we do some website development and management for clients. So with respect to training, we have trained over 150 students till date. And we've also consulted for over 6 different organizations in domains such as computer vision, embedded systems, fintech applications, blockchain, web development, and also maintenance and inventory management applications. So these are some of the things what we've worked on. But you'll get an idea, all the things that I've been working on, how exactly what my mindset might have been when I took up these projects. So the agenda for today's talk is, firstly, we'll just briefly tell what exactly is entrepreneurship, and then we'll talk about what are business ideas, what are business models, and how to evaluate an idea. So what is entrepreneurship? What do you think is entrepreneurship? Yeah, starting your own business. That's what the general idea is. But so what is entrepreneurship is, you create a business, then you manage it, and then you scale it. So this involves generally innovation, and this also involves taking calculated risks. Okay, so what happens is, we as entrepreneurs, you have to exploit a commercial opportunity. So exploiting a commercial opportunity can be in different ways. So you can bring a new product to the market. That's one of the ways you are starting a new business. Or you can improve something that's already there in the market. Or you can disrupt the current market with new products or services. So these are some of the ways entrepreneurs exploit a commercial opportunity. So we'll go into what we mean by business ideas. So if you take a business idea as an equation, then you could say that the idea equation has these components. So first you'll have a subject, then you have a problem or a benefit, and then you have the business model. So these three things would be required if you are having a business idea. So subject, what do you mean by subject? So subject generally means who is going to benefit from this idea, who is your target audience, who is your target customers. So we can't. So for example, now if I want to let's say sell a camera, okay, a camera brand. Can I sell that camera brand to people who are not photographers? They would not be interested in it at all. So they are not my target audience, or they are not my subjects. So you should always pick a specific group and or a group of people or certain businesses who become your target subjects. Then what is problem or benefit? So problem is you identify something that people are struggling with, okay, a pain point. So people will generally have some problem, and you come out with an idea to fix it. Now, the benefit is you will find some value that you can add to a product or a service, and people will pay for it. So there are two things. Either it can be a problem which you are trying to solve, or you are bringing some sort of convenience, or you're bringing some sort of benefit which is going to help the people in some way. So this is what we mean by problem or benefit part of the equation. And then you need a business model. So this is the way in which you make money for the product or the service that you're offering. So you should always have multiple business models just in case one doesn't work. Now, best example for this would be if you see Amazon Kindle. So have you seen Amazon Kindle? So do you see that there's a purchase option as well as there is a subscription option. There's something called Kindle Unlimited where you just pay a monthly thing and you have access to most of the books, not all, but you get access to a lot of books. So those are the two different models. I mean, that's a good example for comparing two different models. Okay, so you may have something where you have membership and you can have subscription, or you may have something where you pay a one-time licensing amount. So different type of models are there, but it's always good to have more than one model in case one doesn't work. Next comes to when it comes to innovation, what are the different areas that you can innovate? So see, we say innovation, right? What do we mean by innovation is we try to do something new or bring some change. Now, where can we do this? What are the different areas of innovation? So basically, if you consider entire supply chain or value chain, there are different parts, like from where the products are sourced, then it is going to a factory, then some processing happens, then it is packaged, then it may go to a showroom or it may go to a retail store, and from there it may end up in your hands, or it may end up in the hands of a customer. So there's an entire value chain that is there. So you can innovate in different parts of the supply chain or different parts of this value chain. So first area is procurement. Procurement is basically where the product or the service is originating or coming from, or where did the raw material or the manpower come from. So this is one of the areas where you can innovate. Second area is the product or the service itself. So something that you're selling to the customer. So it can be something like a pizza, it can be something like offering tax advice, whatever it is. So basically the product or the service, it may be a new software that you're bringing in. So whatever it is, this is the product or the service where you can innovate. Then you have delivery. So delivery is how the product or the service gets to the customer, how it's going to reach the customer. So what kind of delivery mechanisms are involved? So maybe via mail, so maybe online mode, maybe it is picked up from the store, maybe via phone, maybe via Skype. So what I mean by this is, see, you may get books of certain coaching classes. If I have to take GE for example, this is I think you may find it relative. You may find some online courses are there. There are some sites. So sometimes the books may be sent to you. Sometimes the content is available online where you log into the app and then you're looking at the lectures. Or then maybe they are having live classes on Zoom or maybe through Skype. So these are different ways how the lecture gets or the product or the service gets delivered to you. So this is one of the areas where you can innovate. I think if you consider Zoom, that could be one of the tools which innovated in the way primarily Zoom became popular during the lockdown, right? So why? Because most colleges, most schools started making use of it. So basically, what you would have been going to class and attending, the mode of delivery changed. It is reaching you. So that's how Zoom innovated. Then promotion. So promotion is basically marketing. So how does the client find out about the product or service? So for that you need a marketing strategy. You have ad campaigns, referral programs, ad channels, so where to run ad campaigns. So there are different ways you can do it. Social media marketing. So that's an entire different area itself. But all these areas are where you can innovate. Okay, so these are general areas. I mean, any business you take, these 4 areas you will find, and in these 4 areas you can innovate in one way or the other. So what are the types of innovation then? Now I said we can innovate. Now what are the different types of innovation that you can do? So innovation, so basically we can try to improve something, right? We can improve the market, we can improve the service, or we can improve the product. So how we can improve? So one of the ways you can improve is the price. So if you can solve a problem, or if you can deliver a service for a lesser price than what is already existing, obviously it becomes a business opportunity, right? you can price something lesser. Also, you have convenience. So what do you mean by convenience is ease of purchase, or you are saving time, and so you'll be doing some saving in form of time and effort. So convenience is basically you are going to bring some sort of convenience to the customer. So that's one more way you can innovate. Third way is speed. So how quickly can you deliver value to the client? Now this is what Amazon or Domino's is doing. So how quickly something is delivered. So that is where you're speeding things up. Or you can innovate in terms of quality. So you can improve the individual characteristics of that product. So you can make a product better. So that's how you can innovate. So this is generally, you could see this in food taste or with aesthetics. And then you have self-expression. So customers get self-expressive benefits when they feel better after using a product. So something like Apple would be a good example. Now, Apple phone or an Android would do the same thing. But I think I'm personally an Android person, but I think Apple fans would be able to associate with that. So there's something special they feel about using iPhone, right, or an Apple product. So that's generally what we say. It's a type of self-expression. So self-expression is one more way where you can innovate, and that's exactly what Apple is doing. Now you have so any business idea that you come out with, it has to fit in one of these four quadrants. So you have hobbies, you have passion, you have skills, and you have experience. So hobby is something that you're normally inclined towards doing. So if you ask me, it would be sitting outside at night and then shooting the sky. Now, not many people would be happy doing that, but for me, nobody has to force me to do that. I'll just be outside till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, just looking at the stars, and I don't realize how time passes. So when it comes to hobbies, it's something like that. So this becomes this is one of the biggest source of business ideas. Okay, so if you like doing something, then you can get business ideas out of that. So it is hard to start a business if you don't like doing it, right? So if you ask me to do accounting, that's probably something that would be a very bad. I would be very bad at that business. So it's something like that. You should like whatever you're doing, and then these hobbies, they help you build skills. So whenever you're taking up a hobby, it should help you build up the skills. So see now this, if I take the same astronomy as an example, now whatever I'm doing as a hobby, now if I go and now I have enough skills that I can go and operate an observatory anywhere. So you get that kind of skills with your hobby because the learning happens by interest. No one forces you to do it. And think about what you do that is unique. So something that you're doing, if it is unique, then you can turn it into a business. And also, can you do it all day, or would you be happy to keep doing this work all day? Then so this is where your hobbies can turn into a business. Then you have passion. So what is passion? Passion is things you spend a lot of time thinking about. You care about it. So you want to spend a large portion of your life working on these things. And this should be very easy to identify because you know what it is. So you may be passionate about the environment. Then you may try to do some business which is somehow focused in improving the environment or doing something which is going to make human life easier. So this way, passion is something that is also a driving factor for starting up a business. So best example is Walt Disney. Walt Disney is he started with sketching characters. He was passionate about that. He's made it into a huge industry now. So now it's not only cartoons, movie studios, everything is under that. Then you have skills. So specific or general things that you're good at. So if you're only passionate about something, let's say you say I'm passionate about coding. You have no idea how to write a single code. So can you become a good business person in software industry? Not really, because you need to know. So even if you're going to hire someone and do it, you need to tell them what to do, right? So skills is generally very important. Even though you may have the passion, if you lack the skills, then it may not be very successful. So being only passionate about something does not say whether you are good at it. So focus on what you are good at and ask yourself these questions. What could you teach someone? Now, if you can teach something to someone, then you're probably good at it. What do you consider yourself an expert at? Now, if you are an expert at something, then you know things about it in detail, and you will be able to, start a business out of it. Or you can address this question, like you have to ask yourself, I am in the top 10% of the people who can do dash dash, whatever it is. So if you are in the top 10% of the people, then you are good at it. And then after skills, what you have is you have experience. So experience leads to, so experience is something that makes the learning curve easier. So once you get experience, then the learning becomes much more easier, and you already have worked in something. So you have some inside knowledge about some area, whatever. Like if I'm saying software industry, then particular type of software, like let's say fintech, then you have an insight of how the fintech industry works. So now you can start your own business in the fintech domain, where you can hire people, you can use your experience, you can use your skills. So that is how your experience helps in starting a business. So these are generally how things, like how you can come up with certain ideas. So now what we'll do is the different strategies of coming up with ideas. So there are a few ways I've listed out. So we'll just see. It should be pretty simple to understand what it is, but the thing is, we may not realize it when we are just, if you have not thought about it before. So first, business idea is a pretty simple one. Problem-based business idea. I think this is what most of you do in your societal internship. You try to identify a problem. You try to come up with a solution. This is what we are doing there. So you need to ask, how often do I face this problem? So on a scale of rarely to frequently, do I face this problem often? How big deal of a problem is this? Is this just a minor inconvenience, or is this an apocalyptic level of problem where you need Avengers help to solve it? So it's probably somewhere in between these two ranges. It's in this range. So apocalyptic to minor inconvenience. So where does this problem really lie? So how many problems are getting, how many people are getting affected by it, and how badly people want a solution for it. So can I solve this problem, and is it worth solving a problem? So these are the kind of things you need to ask. So best example is if you consider Uber. Now Uber is not an apocalyptic problem. It's not going to end the world, right? Like you need to commute. You need to go from one place to another. Now it's a small, it's not a minor inconvenience. If you consider a place like Bangalore, it is not a minor inconvenience, it is an inconvenience. But at the same time, it is not the end of the world. But are there many people affected by this? Yes. So it would be easier to have some way to commute from one place to another, not bother about parking and everything. So what happens? Uber becomes a business idea that came up. I mean, Uber happened elsewhere, but I'm just giving you an example of Bangalore because it's quite close and commuting is a major problem there. So you need to think, can I solve this problem? And next question is it worth solving? So if I solve this problem, is it going to make things better? Is it going to be profitable? So you find a problem, you try to build a solution, and if other people have this problem, then the solution may be a success. I mean, if only you have a problem, can you build a business around it? So many other people also should be facing similar problems, then you can develop a solution. Then is it in the top 3 problems of potential crimes? So are many people affected by this, and is it a problem that majorly affects them? Then you can think of developing a solution. If it's a problem that is affecting you a lot, but not affecting majority of the population that much, then it may not be a profitable idea. So it's better to have a few people who want it very much rather than many who are not interested at all. Okay, so that's how you need to, those are the kind of things you need to ask in your survey. So when you're doing a market survey, these are the kind of things you need to address. Then you have a benefit-based business idea. This is like, where you're bringing in some form of convenience. So again, something similar. Earlier you were just solving problems. Now you're trying to just bring in convenience to the people. So you may find yourself asking, wouldn't it be great if dash, something is possible? Wouldn't it be great if something was cheaper? Wouldn't it be great if the printer was faster? Wouldn't it be great if this laptop could play games at higher resolution? So, these are the kind of questions when you ask. So this gives you, this gives an idea that okay, there can be a business developed around this. Or if you can get excited about something, then probably there are other people also. See, for example, I asked one question now. Wouldn't it be great if I could play this game at higher FPS? Now, I may not be the only one. There may be an entire gaming community that would want this. And in that case, it becomes a business. Now, there could be an electronics company which, innovates to make this possible. Uh, so, the next kind of business that you can think of is imagining the future. So I think that's a quadrant system where I've shown things that were seen in the Back to the Future movie. So have you watched the movie? Have you watched Back to the Future? Okay. So yeah, now I feel old. Okay. So there are a lot of things shown in that movie. So in that movie, he goes back to the past ones, and then there's another part where he goes to the future. So in the future, there are many things that he sees, some of which we are actually seeing now. Okay, these things are not there back then, but we are seeing it in present now. For example, flying cars not yet. Then there is something called a hoverboard. So we have something called a hoverboard now, but that is not that hoverboard. It is just a balancing thing what we are having. So that is sort of outlandish and wrong, what we are not seeing. On the other side, see, you have thumbprints as keys. We are using it, thumbprint based access. CGI of dead celebrities. So this is also happening. I think if you have seen Star Wars Rogue One, I think in Rogue One, so one of the actors, he had actually passed away, but you could see him in the movie. So he was CGI generated. So that is already happening. Then you have video glasses, smart glasses are already there. Cars that use alternative fuel. So there, in the movie, he used to throw trash into it, and the trash was basically the trash compactor with the nuclear reactor which used to power the car. Of course, it required some fictional things like flux capacitor, which is fictional. But you do have cars running on alternate fuels. You have cars running on hydrogen. You have cars running on flex fuel or EVs. Video chat, this is there, and also hologram. So that scene that you see of Jaws 19 is what it was shown in the movie, where you have the shark coming out from the screen. And this kind of screens, I think you may have seen on Instagram or Facebook, where they show it's a 3D kind of effect where it looks like the dragon comes out of the screen. So that kind of thing was shown in the movie way back. So basically, you're imagining the future. Okay, so what great business in the future isn't being built today? So these are some of the products what you may see in the future. So what problems will the world have in the future? Which will be the companies that solve them? So imagine how the future is going to look like. You need to imagine how the future is going to look like. And then the ideas that you come out with may not sound great at first. But if you think about them in the future, they will sound better. For example, smartphones. All of you are using smartphones now, right? If you have watched Star Trek, the original series, the one with Captain Kirk, I think he had a smartphone way back. Way back. Star Trek original series is older than me as well. So probably back then they had shown smartphones there. And we actually have smartphones now. Right, so you need to think ideas which may not sound great. So if somebody mentioned smartphone back then, people would have thought it is stupid. So now it's possible. So you can think about Google in 1999. Imagine in the year 1999, someone talking about a very powerful search engine. That may not have been the case. So you have to make future predictions and then think how the future would look like, and then work backwards, okay, towards a product, towards an idea. Whatever top 5 things you can come up, you list it out, and then you could probably build a business around that. Next is reverse imagination. So you need to imagine you're in the future, And now think about ads or videos from the 80s or the 90s. Some of the videos will be, nostalgic. Some of the videos are cringeworthy. So you need to look at the past, and we see that we did things in certain inefficient way or in an ignorant way. See, if you look at some of the things in the past, we may have been very racist back then, right? So now that if you think about it now, we realize that okay, probably we were racist back then, but we have done things out of ignorance back then. So something that was popular in the past, but we feel stupid now. So, for example, think about this. Imagine you are 15 or 20 years in the future, and we already have issues with plastic, right? We already have issues with plastic, and people are using debit cards and credit cards when we have something like UPI. So in the future, imagine 15 to 20 years in the future, you will be thinking, okay, there was so much of plastic being dumped everywhere, and people were still using credit cards and debit cards. So that may have been the thought process when when they went for something like digital payments. So that's how you can think about coming up with new ideas. This is one of the ways. This is how PayPal also started. So it is just that the founders thought that it was dumb that people couldn't transfer money online. So that's how they started with PayPal. And then disintermediation. What do you mean by disintermediation is, so like I told you, there is a supply chain or there's a value chain. And a lot of times the prices of products are high because of this value chain or the supply chain. Because you may have a retailer, you may have a showroom where the prices will be high. So what you can do is, if there is some way you can get rid of these intermediate steps, that is what disintermediation is, then what will happen? Your business is, the product becomes cheaper, and that can be act as a new business way. So this is one way. So potential outcomes would be lower price keeping the same quality, or you maintain the price and increase the quality. So there's a theory, good, fast and cheap. So good, fast and cheap is any product or any business cannot be all three. Okay, it is not possible. Either a product will be good and fast, but it won't be cheap. If it is good and cheap, then it won't be fast. If it is fast and cheap, then it may not be good. So generally, that's how like fast and cheap. Now you get a lot of China electronics products. They are fast, they are cheap, but is the quality good? It is not long lasting. So you may get some products which are really good, but they are not going to be cheap. They'll be good and fast. So this way, there's always a trade-off that needs to be done. So you need to think: is there any area in your hobbies or passion, wherever, where you can apply this good, fast, and cheap theory? So based on this, you can come up with some ideas. And this is, I think, more relevant to IT industry and to people in software. So you need to. So there are many businesses that are running offline completely. So what is the one thing you can do as IT engineers? So this is what. So most of you have gone for your societal internships, right? So what is the kind of task that you did? If you have gone to schools, what was the kind of task that you were given? Something to be automated, something to be done online. Yes. So maybe it could be something like generation of a timetable. Maybe it could be something like a system to maintain attendance, whatever it is. So a lot of things which are being done offline completely can be brought online. So that's what we call as SaaS. Okay, software as a service. So you can bring all these things online, and the advantage of bringing all these things online is, so you don't need a lot of files and everything to keep like physically. Everything is on the cloud. You will be able to access it from anywhere, and you will be able to get your work done. And also, it is once it is online, then it is easier for you to even get some analytics out of your data, whatever it is. So let's say your student data, if I take, you have all your marks online. Now I can apply some analytics algorithm there, and then we can see, why some person may be lacking in a certain subject, what may be the issue. We can apply some data analytics, and we are able to find that. So that is how bringing something into automating it using SaaS makes things easier. Bloated margins. So bloated margins is like you have some industries where you have see the product may be very cheap. I'll give you an example what I've mentioned here. You have a mattress. What is a mattress made of? Cloth, right? So cloth. Now this mattress, its cost will range somewhere between $300 to $3,000. Okay. Now what is the cost of the fabric? The material itself costs around $100, but the mattress is costing around $300 to $3,000. Now this cost comes because this has to be kept in the showroom, and in the showroom, if it doesn't get sold, it keeps remaining there, and the price, all this comes into picture. So basically, the problem is with the way the distribution model. So this particular company wanted it. They started delivering the mattresses by folding it like a taco and selling it, distributing it through bicycles, like a delivery, like home delivery they were doing, and that sort of brought down the costs. So this is how you can, I mean, if you can identify some business like this, then you can, you can bring down the margins. Then that becomes a business. And then you need to identify trends in outsourcing. Okay, so there is outsourcing and there is partial automation. So what is that? So you need to identify trends where there is a shift from outsourced workers towards semi-automatic tools. So if something is being outsourced, what does it indicate? If something is being outsourced from a company, then it means that it is now simplified enough that you can tell someone to do it. But it may be too complicated to completely automate it. So what you do is you need to identify areas like this. And how you can do this? You need to search on Upwork or you need to search on Freelancer, where you are having, where you need to see a pattern in how things are being, what kind of jobs are being outsourced. So if this is possible, then what you can do is you can set a business around this. Okay, so and you can think of these things how it can be automated. So that's how you can design a business around it. See, something is nearly automated, not completely. So that's why a lot of it is being outsourced. You can think how it can be automated. So you can think of how some work can be automated. Then we have another type of business, what we call as Robin Hooding. Now, Robin Hooding is, there is some business that is already existing, and you start a business and you do it at a much lesser price. I think this is what was, if you had seen the online thing that was happening between Physics Wala versus the coaching centers at Kota and Unacademy and Byju's. So there was a lot of online battle that was happening. So basically what Physics Wala did is he offered it at a much affordable price and compared to what Kota people were charging. And this is kind of what we say is Robin Hooding. But of course, you can't Robin Hood someone who's already broke, right? So you know who's Robin Hood, right? Who's Robin Hood? So Robin Hood used to steal from the rich and give it to the poor. So his main villain was the sheriff of Nottingham. So Robin Hood was not stealing from the poor itself, right? So you can't Robin Hood someone who's already broke. So you need to, the target should be properly sorted in this. So you have to build a sustainable business as well. So you can't say I will do something if there is a business, something that is some product being sold for 10,000. Now that 10,000 may include all your manufacturing costs and everything. If you tell I'm going to give it for 2,000, is it possible? You need to study the market well. So if something is good, if you're going to sell a product for which you'll have to pay more, does it make sense? No. So you'll have to, you have to see that your business is going to sustain as well. And then this brings a question: doesn't the strategy lower the value of industry as a whole? But that's how competitive businesses will run. So initially products will be expensive, then slowly as competitors come, the price comes down. And then we have another type of idea. What we say is stating good idea, bad timing. So this reminds me of Tony Stark's dad's dialogue, Howard Stark's line, that is, I'm limited by the technology of my time. So, what exactly you mean by this is, see, you have some businesses which were too ahead of its time. So, best example for this, if I have to give, so there was a site called sudo.com. Okay, it's probably older than me as well. Sudo.com. Now, have you seen a 56K model? Probably you've never worked with the 56K model. We have. Okay, when internet was first introduced in Bangalore, we have used 56K model. So the moment you connect to 56K model, you have to connect to the phone line. So you give connect, then you get some sequence of beeping sounds. So you will see some reels on Instagram where they say 90s kid and there's a particular sequence of beeping sound that is shown. Now in that beeping sound, what you hear is the modem connecting to the internet, and then we have to shout at everyone not to pick up the phone, because if someone picks up the phone, the internet would disconnect. So that's how 56K modem was. 56K, that's the speed. And now what you're having is broadband 4G, 5G, right? So you have YouTube running beautifully now. Now sudo.com, think about YouTube running in that model. To give a comparison, when we had 56K model, to download one song, it used to take 2 or 3 days. So that's the speed of internet back then. Now think of how YouTube would run on that. So sudo.com was there, was like YouTube, but with 56K model. It was way ahead of its time. So they failed because of their timing. Okay, so that was the problem. Or there may be some businesses, the timing may be wrong because of cultural acceptance, or because of the technology, because of legal issues, or because of infrastructure. So, if you can imagine a consumer demand for it, then you need to dwell on why it failed. So, if you think it failed because the timing was off, but now the world has changed since then you can think of reviving that sort of business back. So, there are many businesses like this. And then you have something called enablers. So what are enablers? See, you may want to start an online business. Okay, you may want to start an e-commerce business. Maybe you want to let's say you start a store with action figures and products and you want to sell it. But you're not very tech savvy. You have no idea how to set up a website. Now this is going to act as a barrier for you, right? So if someone who doesn't know how to set up a website, will he be able to set up an e-commerce store unless he outsources it to a third person? So what happened with this is there are some companies that came up, some companies like Magento, WooCommerce, Shopify, and in India there is Dukan. So these businesses, what they did is they provided a platform. So everything is there. You just have to configure certain things, very user-friendly interface they provided, where you can set up your e-commerce store, and I've done it. We can set up an e-commerce store within 15 minutes. Everything is set. Within 15 minutes, you can launch your websites, and if you have a product list, you can, in a CSV file, you can upload it, and you can have your store ready within 15 minutes. So things become that easy. So this kind of businesses which makes this possible, that is what we call as enablers. So if you can identify some situations like this, then you can design a business which acts as a enabler. Like you can build your own kind of Shopify or WooCommerce. So potential issues that may come up with this is too many or no regulations or too much investment upfront. So what is the Eureka myth? So generally, I mean, if you see movies, then you would think that if you see a movie about some businessman, then you would think that a movie is a 3-hour movie, so he would get the idea within 3 hours. Okay, but reality, it takes way more time than that. So all brilliant people have brilliant ideas, and it happens in a moment. Now that is good only for folklores. So that doesn't really happen in reality. So this leads. So if this is the idea that you have in mind, then what happens is you end up waiting for the perfect idea without doing any active learning. So this leads to people thinking that some people have ideas and some people do not. It's not necessary. See, as long as you are doing some active learning, you can come up with your own ideas. Okay, anyone can come up with their own ideas. So, in fact, most brilliant ideas started off as drastically different ideas. Okay, so to give some examples, Facebook, it started as a website for comparing attractiveness of people. So it used to have this hot or not kind of a thing where people from college, all their photos were there who had registered, and on the other side, people had to select based on their attractiveness. Then came Twitter. Now, Twitter started as what? Twitter started as a podcast service, and now it is a microblogging site. It's completely different. Not okay, not yeah, it is somewhat completely different. Now, something that is totally off. Sony company started by selling rice cookers, and now we are having cameras or we are having TVs. And Nintendo. Now, what is Nintendo famous for? Mario, Sonic the Hedgehog, all the games. But Nintendo started as vacuum cleaners, so I find it very hard to imagine Super Mario vacuum cleaners. So it started off as something else, but now it is something else, right? So ideas evolve. Okay, so you need to just come up with an idea and start, and then gradually the things may change. And then we have business models. So that's different strategies for coming up with idea. Now, what do you mean by once you have an idea, then you need something called business model. So business model is basically how we make money. So what is SaaS? Now, this is very relevant to what you are doing. So what is SaaS? Software as a service. So what is the advantage of going for software as a service? See, earlier you used to build an application and you used to then give it to the client. Okay, let me take games for example. Earlier games were available in DVDs. We used to install it and we used to run. Now you either pay for the game and get it and then you run. But gradually what happens? Gets pirated, you get a cracked version of the game, you install the game and then you put the crack, game works. Now you see a little less of that happening. Why? So there is something called Steam that got introduced in gaming where it's on the cloud and you get access from that, licensing, everything is handled through that. Same way, Photoshop. Now earlier Photoshop also was an application that you had to download and you could crack it, you could run it. It was a standalone application. So what is the most recent version of Photoshop? Have you worked with it? So it's on the cloud. It's a cloud-based service now. So what happened? So what happened is they took it from a physical service, they made it as a software as a service. So now what happens? Now one of the things is your software is protected, your code is protected, it is not cracked anymore. And then second thing is once your business is online, you can do a lot of things like I said earlier. You can run analytics, you have access to it everywhere. So this makes all this possible. Okay, so SaaS brings all that advantage. So instead of a desktop application, you see most of applications are now becoming SaaS. Another type of business model is, so one more thing with SaaS is, see, you're not giving the code to the client. So what happens is, you are in control of the code, you control the access to the software. So basically, you have continuous business now. So you're going to provide this as, I'm going to provide this software as a service to the client, but I'm going to allow only 10 users to use it. You want more than 10 users, you pay extra. Or I'm going to allow you to use this for 20 users, but I'm going to allow you to use it for 1 year at this cost. Next year, you have to pay a renewal fee. So I'm getting a continuous business out of it, rather than just giving the software once and done with it. And then you have subscriptions and memberships. So these are two ways how you can keep getting revenue. One is subscription. So subscription, you get a monthly subscription kind of a thing, like what we have in Netflix or Spotify. Membership is you pay a fee, an initial fee, and everything else when you buy later, you may get it as a lesser cost. So generally, or you pay a membership for a year, you get access for the entire year, or you may get discounts. Some of the apps, clothing stores have this option. So you take a membership, then you get a lot of discounts. So where does this kind of model work? It works in digital goods. So subscription works in digital goods like Netflix or Spotify. But studies have shown that India is one of the worst markets if you're going for subscription. So people don't really, a lot of people don't really go for subscription. So subscription, it depends. It depends on the market as well. Then you have sharing economy. So sharing economy is a type of business model where you have something like a house or a car which you are not using. Then what you can do, you can rent it out. How do you rent it out? You have something like Airbnb, which is a business in started, or you have Uber, where the car can be, or Lyft. So where the car, it's a resource, but it is now being shared. So sharing of economy. So this is one of the type of businesses that people can come up with. But drawbacks are, depending on the country, the type of business might be having different kind of regulations. Then you have another type of business that you can start up, another type of model, that is marketplace. So what is marketplace? You have a common market, sellers come there, buyers come there. But the thing is, there's a dependency. Buyers want sellers to be there, sellers want buyers to be there. So that dependency will be there. But the thing is, with this kind of a market, you don't have to worry about marketing the product or running ads. The marketing platform itself, the market platform itself will take care of it. Something like Amazon, something like eBay, something like Etsy. So they work with this model. So then you have on-demand. So on-demand type of businesses is again something like Lyft or Uber or Ola, where you want to commute, and at that instant you make a request on your app and the car comes there. So that is what we call on-demand businesses. Another type of model is direct to consumer. So what you do is you skip the retailer completely. So if you skip the retailer completely, the cost of the product comes down. Or at the same cost, you may be able to give a higher quality product. So one of the companies that was known for doing this is Dell. So Dell has a store now, but earlier Dell used to sell directly to customers. You never used to get Dell computers in a store. You had to get it directly. I think that now even I think all models of Dell we get it in the store now. Okay, then once you have your business idea, then you have a business model. Then what do you do? Now you need to evaluate your idea whether it is good. Should we proceed with it? So you need to evaluate your idea. So first thing is you see whether it's a matching fit. So you figure out if your idea is a good fit for you. How do you know that? You need to ask yourself some questions. Could I do this every single day without losing interest? So if this idea failed, will I still gain a valuable lesson and learn valuable skills out of this? So if the answer is yes, then probably that's a good fit for you. You may have failed for some other reason. So if you don't know how to approach it, then you probably don't have enough experience, in which case you need to build experience. So experience and skill matter. This is what I told you initially. Experience and skill matter, even though more than being passionate about the project. So it's easier to stay motivated if you learn something from the venture, even if you fail. And your ability to execute on an idea matters a lot. So if you can't pursue an idea, then that's not an opportunity. Also, does your idea have a expiration date or does it have a window? So if yes, then if you can implement that idea within that time, then it is a good idea. If you cannot, then probably it's a bad idea to go ahead with it. So this is how you generally you ask these questions. You decide whether the idea is a good fit for you. Next thing you need to see is the pain to payment. What do you mean by pain to payment is? What is pain? Any business idea that is going to solve a problem. So you need to see what is the problem, how big of a problem it is to your target customers, and how much pain are you relieving for them? How strong of a solution are you providing? Now, if you provide this solution. The next thing is the payment part. How often are your target customers used to paying money for this kind of service? Something will already be there. So how often do they pay for these kind of services? How likely are your customers going to pay? And can they understand the value of your service? So if these questions, if you are able to rate, and if you are able to rate it high on a scale of 1 to 10, if you are able to rate it at a higher number, then it's probably a good idea. If it rates low, then probably it's not an idea worth pursuing. Also, you need to think about the sustainability of your business. So, sustainability is what is going to happen to the market when you become successful. Uh, are you building this on top of another platform, or is it in a way that it is dependent on other platforms? So, best example for this is very recently. So, I mentioned a platform called Dukan, right? Now, what happened was Dukan was getting very popular in India. A lot of e-commerce sites started adopting Dukan because Shopify was quite expensive. WooCommerce is free, but WooCommerce requires a lot of configuration. So most small businesses who are not tech savvy would go for Shopify. Dukan started off very cheap, and very recently a lot of controversy on Twitter. So what happened was Dukan started putting service charge. They started charging some percentage on every transaction. So a lot of people, suddenly, a lot of businesses which had built up on top of this, it became unsustainable for them because when they're charging such a big, when they're charging that amount, what happens is a lot of these small businesses don't keep a big margin. And now out of that small margin, again, if charges getting cut off, then it affects the business. So these are the kind of things that affect the longevity of your business. So if your business is built on another platform, then these are some of the things you need to consider. Also, how will your competitors react to you coming to the market? I gave you an example of Physics Wala. So when he came, there was a lot of online battles that were happening with people from Kota putting their videos and all that. So how your competitors react, that matters. And do you have something specific that others can't imitate? If yes, then probably that is something very sustainable. Because it's something unique that you do and you can do it best. And what is the path to validation? So what do you mean by validation? So validation is getting your ideas to a point where you establish that there is a real demand for your project and for your product. And how well can you visualize this process? Now, what is the tricky part in this validation? So there are some products which are easy to validate. For example, if you're trying to create protein bars for people on diet, is it easy to validate it? It's quite simple. Now let's say you create a new credit card technology, and now is it easy to validate? So if you build a new credit card technology, you get this technology to the market, fine, implement it. But it's going to be extremely hard to validate it because you have to convince first the banks, then you have to convince all the authorities, then you have to go to the RBI. Everything needs to get validated. So that's a hard to validate kind of a thing. So creating protein bars for people on diet is a very simple thing. So that's like two different spectrums what I get, but generally things will be within this. So whether something is easy to validate or hard to validate. And then if you have any unfair advantages, so obviously you can see on the screen, you have three people. You have the fastest man on the planet, that is Flash. You have another fastest person on the planet, that is Superman. But who has unfair advantage? It's always Batman. That's it. I'm Batman. That's it. So that itself is sufficient, as an unfair advantage. So even even for people. So if you have an unfair advantage, then you need to figure out what is your unique quality. So are you an expert at something? So it will be hard to match your knowledge in the field. So if you are an expert at something, then that is an unfair advantage that you have over the rest of the market. The dedication and availability. So for example, now if I'm going to work something on astronomy, nobody has to force me. I think I can just sit there for hours together. Right? If it comes to designing a telescope, I'll probably sit there hours together. I will forget my lunch and everything. So that's the kind of dedication and availability that will come because of that that interest that I'm having. Probably if someone else was asked to do the same thing, that may not be possible. So that's an unfair advantage I would have. And then first mover's advantage. So whoever makes the first move, they would have an advantage. And flexibility. So generally, if you see bigger companies, they are called as aircraft carriers because it is not very flexible. So a large business, if you ask them to change their direction, is it easy? If you ask Google to go from search engines to start manufacturing EVs, is it possible? It is possible, yes, but it is not an easy process. It's like turning an aircraft carrier. If you've seen an aircraft carrier, it is pretty huge and not that easy to turn. That's why they call it as aircraft carriers. Meanwhile, if you consider speedboat, it is very easy to turn it around. So smaller businesses or startups, they have that flexibility to take corrective actions. And then, what about the value of ideas? So your idea has no value by itself. So ideas are worthless if you don't do anything with it. Now, one of the things is, a lot of times what happens is the obsession with hiding your ideas, thinking someone else would come up with the same idea. Now, if you have an idea, act on it. If you keep worrying that if I do something, someone else is going to understand and then someone else is going to build on that idea, then what will happen? The idea is going to decay in your head and it's going to remain there. Nothing is going to happen out of it. So we should stop obsessing over hiding the ideas, but rather, act on it. And obsession with NDAs. Now, non-disclosure agreements say that you're not allowed to share your ideas with anyone. And most of the time they don't work because see, you will be putting in a lot of time and effort in making your NDA. Meanwhile, the person for whom you've done the NDA would think of a workaround or a loophole and would get the things done. So rather than worrying about NDAs, it is better if we actually act on it, act on the idea. And obsession with patents. Now, certain industries like technology, yes, patenting is very important, but not everywhere. See, many times what happens is patents are just hoarded. Okay, nothing more is done. So what happens is you're hoarding patents and you're not acting on it. Ultimately, it leads to a slowdown in innovation. So rather than being obsessed about patents, see, for example, in US it takes almost 2.5 years to make one patent. So for a technology, maybe in some cases it is valid, but many times it may not be needed, and you'd rather be just obsessing about it. But it's better we always focus on execution and validation rather than worrying about others having similar idea. And then we have the two types of markets. So we have something called the red ocean and blue ocean concept. So red ocean is where you have a lot of competition. So basically the ocean is red because you have a lot of sharks and because of which you have a lot of blood. So that's why the ocean is red there. Blue ocean is fairly empty and not many competitors, but you have a lot of space to explore and establish a market. So depending on what business you're going, you should decide. So red ocean is usually a well-established market, but has a lot of competition. Blue ocean is exploratory and speculative. So you can explore a lot, and success or not, that depends. So, so those are the two type of markets, and when you come out with a business, you should decide where exactly your market is going to fit. And lastly, so there is no, now what I discussed was like a certain ways of coming up with ideas, right? Certain ways of coming up with ideas. That was the whole process about ideation. What I'll tell you ultimately is there is no framework as such for coming up with ideas. There is no system for coming up with them. These are just some ways where you may have, these are some ways that's sort of it gives you a direction to come up with ideas. What if there was a framework? If there was a framework for coming up with a successful business, every business would be a success. Now that doesn't happen, right? Not every business is successful. So, so whatever I spoke about, it should sort of give you like a guideline as what it should give you an idea how you can come up with some ideas. What are the areas you can innovate, and what are the different business models that you can think of, and ideas most often, as principal mentioned, that ideas come from unreasonable people. Okay, so ideas should come from, it usually comes from unreasonable people. So reasonable people will always follow the rules. They'll never see the idea coming, and they don't believe in new and crazy ideas. So unreasonable people will look at the world in an almost dysfunctional way, and they will refuse to accept frameworks and systems. So to come up with ideas, try to be unreasonable, right? So I hope you are able to get some idea out of it, to get some direction, towards innovation. All right. So, do you have any questions? Anything you want to ask? So, I expect to see a lot of innovators from both the batches here. Okay, because I can see there's a good amount of participation in hackathons. There's a good amount of participation in ideathons. So these are generally, see, these activities all sort of help you boost your uh, creativity, and it helps you, it gives you a direction how to come up with new ideas. So I hope I was able to contribute in that direction in some way. So you get an idea uh, how you can come up with ideas. Okay. Are there any questions, anyone? All right. Thank you.
I strongly believe that all young budding minds have got their ambiguity cleared, and now all of us can create our roadmaps to reach our goals. Apart from showing lots of new opportunities, this workshop also gave insight about building our own profiles by upgrading our knowledge. It is so motivating, and it is the right time to kickstart our journey towards our dream job role. I'm also grateful to stand before our HOD, Dr. Prahas Amin, who he not only provides opportunities for us to explore the vast world of technology, but also offers patent advice with a positive and smiling face. Thank you, sir, for this insightful session. Lastly, but certainly not the least, I extend my thanks to the dedicated teaching and non-teaching staff, as well as all the students whose collective efforts have made this event not only possible, but also immensely fruitful. Your participation and enthusiasm have contributed to the success of this workshop, and for that we are truly grateful. In closing, let us carry the knowledge and inspiration gained from this workshop into our future endeavors. Thank you all for being a part of this enriching experience.